What's up, guys? How is it going? All right, for starters, I need to apologize for the format of this video. For some reason, my desktop video recorder has decided to prevent me from resizing my capturing frame correctly, which means that I've had to, through trial and error, figure out exactly how big to make the Magic Online screen so that it fits the current preset field for the recorder, and that's why the resolution is all funkified. But hopefully, you'll be able to actually see my hand as I play the next series of games that I intend on posting. I actually had about 6 or 7 games archived and ready to go, and as normally happens with Magic Online, if you don't record your stuff in a certain time frame, the archived replays disappear, which is a shame because I had, I think, 3 or 4 other games that fell off the map that were pretty solid, but I've got a few left for you guys to enjoy. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've posted as well. I've just been busy with tons of real-life stuff, including moving into a new house, which is where I'm broadcasting from right now. But that has not prevented me from playing a reasonable amount of Magic Online, just here and there in evenings and stuff, and marking down whenever I had a particularly good game. I'll make sure to be more conscientious and actually record the games shortly after I play them so that they're not only fresh in my memory, but also so that the replays cooperate. All right, so without further ado, I will move to the first game. I'm up against the Scarab God, and I'm using the 1v1 Commander list, which is almost exactly the same as the multiplayer list of Nin the Pain Artist that you're used to. The one difference, or I should say the one difference, the few cards that are different. I'm running a copy of Is It Boilerworks in place of the Strip Mine, which is banned. I'm not running Baral, Chief of Compliance, and I'm not running Sensei's Divining Top, and I think the rest of the deck is basically the same. We'll be able to take a look as soon as I search through the library. But anyway, I think I don't recall if I'm going first. I think he may be going first, and I have obviously an unkeepable hand, even though it's really, really good with just 1 more mana. Unfortunately, I love being able to keep both Copy Artifact and Force of Will, because it means that I have the ability to piggyback on a Soul Ring or Crypt as well as Force of Will, something good, but it's just a little bit shy of keepability. Mystical Tutor can get you something like Brainstorm or Preordain or Ponder, but it's just often too slow. So I throw this back and get a much worse 6, which of course instantly goes back. And quite good actually for 5 cards, given the fact that it's got a Boilerworks in it, which means I effectively have 2 mana there and enough mana to cast Factor Fiction in a few turns, as well as Mystical Tutor for emergencies. So definitely a snap keep, and I got a Spell Pierce on top, which I will certainly put back, as that gives me a lot of interactivity in the early game. Not going to try to bluff anything here. Gave some thought to keeping Steam Vents untapped in case I needed to Mystical Tutor at the end of his turn for something like Mana Drain, but I reasoned that I really want that Spell Pierce anyway, and don't really want to tutor. Alright, 1 mana. Mana Vault. Okay, well, it's one of the dangerous 3 that your opponent can get at the start of the game, and unfortunately that enables him to play his creature, the Scarab God, on turn 2, provided he has a swamp. So regrettably, I have to Mystical Tutor during my upkeep anyway to go get a card to remove the Mana Vault. And there is something to be said for just waiting a turn here, getting a bounce spell instead on the Scarab God, and bouncing it at the end of his turn, or I should say casting Mystical Tutor after he plays the Scarab God, presumably, and then just bouncing it with the Mystical Tutor card. But that's actually a big contingency, and there are plenty of things that he could play on me that are not Scarab God that I would be really regret not getting rid of the Mana Vault for, like card drawing spells and stuff like that. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go take the safe play and get a Vandal Blast. Sack my Arid Mace to get a Volcanic Island. You can see the deck list right here. Oh yeah, a Braid is another card that's added to it in place of the Brawl, and as I mentioned before, running the Is It Boilerworks, which is in my hand, in place of the Strip Mine. And then there's one other card that I don't normally use, and I think it might be Mox. I think it might be Chrome Mox. Yeah, there's Chrome Mox in place of Divining Top. Those are the changes. All right, I'm going to Vandal Blast away the Mana Vault, keep his mana tamped down, even though my hand size is tiny now. At least this is 2 lands in 1, and I do have Effective Fiction to refill if the Commander doesn't work. Talisman of Dominance is still continuing to dominate me in cards and in mana. Really, really far behind here. But all is not lost. All right. Think about this for a little bit. I decided I'm just going to play Nin the Pain Artist here instead of Preordaining, since there isn't really much I could draw right away off the Preordain that I wouldn't want to play over the Nin the Pain Artist, and I'm planning on bouncing the Boilerworks anyway. Can always play Preordain next turn or the Fact of Fiction. Situation is quickly approaching critical. He plays Moan of the Unhallowed, which gets 2/2 zombies, so he's definitely got a zombie theme thing going on here. And he's 1 mana away from getting his Scarab God out, which is going to be extremely problematic if it's able to resolve, because while I can bounce it or steal it, I can't kill it really effectively. Okay, I draw Expedition map. That's not bad. Alright, well, I'm completely resigned to the fact that he's going to be able to cast Scarab God, and I'm just hoping that there's something in the Fact or Fiction cards that allows me to deal with it, in the long term. So I'm just going to have to absorb some damage here. Really not feeling too happy. And I certainly gave some thought to casting the Fact or Fiction right now while he's tapped out, but at the same time, it may give him too much information and change what he does, so I elect to just keep my mana untapped. Also, sometimes people just play removal, and I can draw 2 cards off in the Pain Artist in response to the removal. Alright, definitely no thought of blocking here. Alright, he taps 3 mana, and he plays Necropotence. Necropotence into 4 untapped mana is just insane, given the fact that I haven't cast any counterspells yet, but I have nothing in hand, unfortunately. So I'm just going to Fact or Fiction response on the off chance I get Force of Will, as it's the only thing that would actually stop Necropotence and prevent me from dying. And I get Rift, Island, Coalition Relic, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Treachery. Well, the Treachery is really nice to see, because that's going to give me a long-term solution to the Scarab God that I was talking about. Cyclonic Rift, not too useful right now, but could be a factor if he's able to get more zombies going, and I really just need mana. That's a constant state. So I figure whatever split he does, I'll probably take the pile that gives me at least the Treachery, and hopefully with at least 1 more mana source, because I've got 3. So with that in mind, if he were to split something like Rift and Treachery versus 3, I'd actually have a really hard time deciding, and I'd probably wind up taking the mana and lose the Treachery, which would be regrettable. But he does me a favor of putting the best card probably in the set that isn't Treachery, the Coalition Relic, with it, and that is an easy pick of 2, even though it's slow, and it means that he's going to be able to Necro up. I'm not feeling particularly good. He has a Mystical Tutor as well, and he gets Reality Shift. It's a really strange choice, given the fact that I know he has it too, so it changes my use of Nin the Pain Artist, but he gets to Necro even more. He Necros for 4. So painful. He's back up to 7. Alright, I really need to draw mana. Alright, excellent. There's a Misty Rainforest. I'm going to Preordain first. Certainly not going to cast Treachery yet, and that shows me a Stoic Rebuttal sitting on top with a Mana Confluence as well. And I'd like both of those, but I'd like the Stoic Rebuttal first. So I'm going to put those in that order. And I gave some thought here to just passing, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I'm not really probably going to counter what he does next turn anyway. I'm thinking he may just play a Scarab God next. And with that in mind, I'm just going to put more mana into play. Because even if he had the worst case scenario, which would be a full hand hoser to destroy these 3 cards, I would be able to charge Coalition Relic, untap, draw the Mystic Confluence, and have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana to draw 5, which would get me right back in the game, even though he has Necropotence in play. Unfortunately, his only land is a Fetid Pool is coming into play tapped. And he bashes me for 4, and this is going to add up really quick. And he knows I have Treachery now, so he can't just play as Guy. And then he casts Endless Ranks of the Dead. So it creates equal to half your zombies rounded down, which means that 2 zombies make 1 additional 1, and 1 zombie makes 0. So the priorities here are definitely going to be to keep him off of 2 zombies. That allows me to charge, though, and he Necros a little bit more. I think for 3. Yeah, Necro for 3, so he's going to have to remove 1 card. Goes to end step, and I'm not going to obviously sack the Misty Rainforest, given the fact that that Confluence is on top, and I need all the mana I can get. And blue. And now, definitely, it's time to get rid of one of these dudes. Unfortunately, I've got the Treachery and an Is It Boilerworks and extra mana from Coalition Relic, so this is actually going to generate tons of free mana. Treachery is such an insane card. With this, I get to untap 5 land, which is equal to 6 mana. And after some thought, I'm thinking here about keeping Counter Magic at the ready, but I realize it's probably just better to just blow the hell out of the zombie while he's tapped out. Since I've got all this extra mana in my pool, and this is a draw 6 off of his Guy. Boom. Double Karn, Snapcaster Mage, Muddle, Is It Signet, and another land. Glorious. So instead of charging, I'm just going to play the map so I don't have to discard. But my hand just got massively improved. And I'm actually keeping pace with the Necropotence with my humble little commander, which is pretty amazing. All right, he's up to 6 mana, so he can play his Scarab God now that the Treachery is gone. And despite drawing all those cards with Necro, his best option is to just play his 5/5 and Necro for just 1. All right. I'm really feeling quite good that I've got the Stoic Rebuttal and the ability to cast Karn, but I feel like I kind of want to shore up my defenses a little bit more first before I play in the Karn Unliberated. So with that in mind, I still have this Rift in the graveyard from before, and after putting some more mana into play, I decided to just Snapcaster Mage and just make the tempo play of bouncing his Scarab God back to his hand with the Rift, and with the intention of charging, sacking the map, and getting the Karn Liberated down the following turn. And I'm protected anyway against this guy with Stoic Rebuttal, or something even worse potentially. Plus I have the ability to shoot if need be. So he still has no zombies, which I'm sure are no zombies but this guy, which I'm sure is very frustrating. He plays a land. I'm going to happily chump block there. That takes him down to 0 zombies, so he needs to get 2 into play before he can even use his endless ranks. And it's not exactly endless. It's just the end. All right, the Scarab God comes back down. And I decide just for tempo, again, I'm going to Stoic Rebuttal. That is probably a little bit greedy, but he hasn't shown me any counter magic yet. And if he does counter back and gets the Scarab God down, I have if he counters back, I can either muddle the Mixture, or if he does tap out, I can just slam Karn Liberated and kill the Scarab God that way. And either way, it works out in my favor. So he casts Ponder. I think he elects not to shuffle. So I'm going to sack my thing during end step and go get Wasteland. And I draw Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Phenomenal, because this thing only costs 2 mana when you use the mana ability, which is actually enough mana to deploy both Chandra and Karn Liberated in the same turn, and Wasteland. Just really pretty disgusting. So I get a card out of his hand, and Chandra ticks up. And I still have enough mana to muddle if he has something like Cyclonic Rift. He's tapping more mana. He taps 7 and casts a Runescarred Demon. Totally fine with that, given that he's completely tapped out for the turn. This is just pure tempo. Like, Necro is an incredible card, obviously, but if you don't have a fast deck and you don't have tons of ramp to go with it, the card honestly isn't really that great. And he does have a lot of really clunky spells where the Necro is not really going to work too well. And you can get choked on lands and stuff too. I'm going to charge at the end of the turn. Draw a counterspell is so lucky. All right, I'm going to gobble up the Runescarred Demon with my Karn Liberated. Still has 7 counters on it. Kill off another mana source. She taps for blue. And I just used Chandra's ability to generate 2 more red mana and cast a Karn Scion of Urza. And immediately use it to make a creature, a 3/3 that I can shoot with Nin the Pain Artist. And I've got double counterspell in hand. Just a really kind of textbook game here unfolding, despite the double mulligan against his fast start of Mana Vault. He casts Hero's Demise on Karn, and I gave some thought to letting this go, but the muddle, really, without Winora in my deck or something, isn't all that useful at this point, so it's an easy trade. And he's got a Disallow, so he does in fact have counter magic, and I will definitely counterspell that, because the Karn is so good against blue-black. Necros some more, and Necros for, I think, what is that, 3 or 4? 4 cards, he's going to go up to 8. So end step, I'm going to shoot my Construct to draw 2, which is basically an Ancestral Recall, because it's +2 hand size. It's so insane, I get another counterspell. He throws away a Diregraph Captain, not too useful right now. And he is running out of time, because Chandra is ticking fast. I draw another counterspell, which is just ridiculous. I'm going to exile a card out of his hand. Actually, I'm killing a land right there. Yeah, grab the Fetid Pools. Make another Construct, add 2 mana, play a Grim Monolith, so now these things are 5/5s. And he goes for a Reality Shift on this thing. And in response, I decide to shoot it. And I actually make a mistake here. I really think I should have shot it for 4 and not for 5. Reason being that I might draw even more cheap counter magic that keeps the thing alive. And it getting manifested isn't the worst thing in the world anyway, because it just gives me another creature to attack with and something else to shoot. By shooting it for 5 and not more, I don't get the effect of the Reality Shift. I mean, it's kind of funny that that's a sad event that I'm drawing 5 cards off of a thing I got for free off Karn Scion of Urza, but still, I could have played this a little better. And sure enough, my deck punishes me by dishing up a Spell Pierce, which I could have used to actually counterspell the Reality Shift and keep the 5/5 in play and bash him, and then I would have actually been able to play Mana Vault too and hit him for 6. That's kind of just splitting hairs anyway. Alright, I've got 4 counterspells in hand against his 6 cards, and he is really out of time. Plays another, coming to play tapped land. He's tapping some mana. And all he's got is his 5/5 again. And that is pretty much it. And Necro's anyway down to 12. Alright. Tap the Relic. Untap the Grim Monolith. Oh, and draw 1 card as well. Draw another counterspell. My deck just delivered everything this game. It's pretty ridiculous. It felt bad about the double mulligan. Alright, Grim Monolith untaps. Draw Reliquary Tower. I can add blue. Chandra goes ultimate. That's pretty much what it does. So I reveal the top 2 cards and I just get a land. I'm not sure what else was revealed there. Oh, I think it's 1 Power Stone. And this is kind of cool right here. So I can cast Mana Vault. And then with the ability on the stack, I can Spell Pierce it. So that's 10 damage. And then I can Pact to Negation the Spell Pierce. And all those trigger Chandra. And Chandra piles on the damage. And my opponent explodes and dies. Not the closest game, and honestly his deck seemed like it was a little bit on the casual side, despite the fact that it had Necro, Mana Vaults, counterspells, and so on. But just in terms of overall theme, the zombie theme is probably not going to be as effective as this brutal containment mono-blue strategy effectively. But I thought it was a cool game to come back to, and given the fact that I was so far in the hole at the start of the game, but clearly my deck just overperformed with the card selection that it gave me, and I pulled it out in short order. But I hope you guys enjoyed that game. I've got some games that are quite a bit closer than that one to come, and you can look forward to those. Hopefully also the graphics for this are not too awful. If I can't get it to work, I'll just get a new video recorder, and we'll go from there. See you soon.